DFW Airport is about to embark on some of its most important construction projects that will go on over around the next 10 years, but serve for airports for decades to come. With most of DFW's airport infrastructure being 50 years old, the airport has gone from the culmination of decades of backlash from Dallas and Fort Worth to build a single airport for the entire Metroplex, to now being the third busiest airport in the world. What's going on, everybody? My name's Cool Titanium 68. Welcome back to some of our first aviation content in 5 years, and in today's video we're going to be discussing the multitude of projects that encompasses DFW Airport's new capital investment program. Now, to start off with, for those of y'all that have never been in this channel, I would highly recommend you guys watch my video that I made about a little under 6 years ago, going over, at that point, was a planned expansion, at that time was codenamed Terminal F. Now, leading up from there, up to where we are now, let's get right into that. So, in January of 2019, American Airlines had announced the reopening of the Terminal East satellite building. So for those of y'all that don't know where Terminal's East satellite building is, this is the layout of the terminal. So you've got A, B, C, D, and then E. This building right here, this is a 15-gate satellite terminal. This was opened up back in 2019 to help facilitate American Airlines' growth. Now with that, American was able to add an additional 100 daily flights for the airport. Now later in May, so probably about like 4 or 5 months after they announced the opening of that, DFW Airport announced Terminal F, which was a 24-gate terminal that would cost roughly about $3.5 billion and would have taken about 5 years to complete. It was going to cover the design, construction of it, because at that point it was going to take some time to see, is it really worth going with a semicircular terminal or going with a new one, which we'll talk about in a little bit. As DFW Airport had been dangerously close to 70 million passengers through 2017 and 2018, they wanted to prepare for the future by building this new terminal. Now through 2019, DFW Airport grew beyond expectations. As I said before, for the past 5 or so years, DFW Airport was expecting to have 70 million passengers in 2020. Now in 2019, with the opening of Terminal E satellite building, they saw just under 75 million passengers, pushing DFW Airport to the 10th busiest in the world. Now, going into 2020, growth was slightly hindered by, well, the pandemic, number one. But for American, this was hindered by the grounding of all Boeing 737 MAX jets, since they operate 63. And even though they do operate more of the older 737 next generation aircraft, so this is the Dash 800s, Dash 900s, where they, like specifically the Dash 800 variant, it would still stint Americans' growth for the next year and a half while the aircraft was trying to be recertified with the FAA. Now, where has DFW Airport gone to this by that point in 2020? Now, in April, they had actually canceled the Terminal F project, because at that time they were also looking to rebuild Terminal C too. The thing was that they were like, well, it's a lot of money. We don't have a lot of time. Let's just shelve this project. But since then, DFW has grown to become not only staying in the top 10, it is now the third busiest airport in the world. In 2023, DFW saw a record-breaking 82 million passengers. How is this possible that 4 years after the pandemic, DFW became the third busiest airport in the world, while also far exceeding its quote-unquote the designed capacity? Now again, in 2021, American actually moved all of its trans-Pacific flights out of LAX and moved them to DFW. Now, you can still fly out of LAX to Asia, it's just American moved the majority of their flights to like Hong Kong, Seoul, Beijing. They moved them all to DFW because there was a lot less competition compared to LAX, and it was probably cheaper too with how much competition was there. The Terminal D went under 2 expansions. They had a northern extension that connected it to Terminal B, which added another 4 gates, and there's also a southern extension adding another 4 gates. So it adds 8. Plus, with America's hub at DFW Airport being the second largest hub in the world, it did actually make sense for American to move their Asian flights out of LAX and bring them here. Plus, there's a lot of tech companies from Asia that do have offices in the North Texas area. So therefore, making it a lot more financially reasonable to have it bring here. Now, bringing back up to where we are today, what is the Capital Investment Program? So in January 2024, American Airlines signed an almost $10 billion terminal lease agreement for the next 10 years. With this in mind, DFW Airport is embarking on a whole slew of new projects for the airport. These includes high-profile projects like the Terminal C rebuild, the new Terminal F, but also encompasses projects like runway 17R35L's rebuild, the Southwest Taxiway around, and the expansion of their cargo facilities, among others. There are close to 150 separate projects that are encompassed in this $9 billion capital investment program. Let's start with some of the higher-ish profiles that is something that you might not see that much. So, to start off with, let's discuss the runway 17R35L rehab. And with that, I'm going to show you guys on Google Maps. So you guys have probably seen, you can probably guess which one this is. So at DFW, we have 4 runways that are 13,400 feet long. And they're all basically on right next to the airport. This one is also used as runway or takeoffs whenever there's a lot of flights that are either coming in or going out. And these are also used too whenever there's really weird winds. But at DFW Airport, the outer 2 runways out of the 4 are your arriving runways, and then your 2 inner runways are your departure runways. Now, with 17R35L, what they did is they completely rebuilt all the concrete on there. They redid all the lights. They did everything that they could do on there. And the reason why they did that is because, well, it's a 50-year-old runway. What they've also done is they also actually replaced the lighting vault that was on the northeast side of Terminal A, which, again, we'll talk why they did that. But they did a whole slew of things about it. What they've done is they've improved all the drainage, electrical infrastructure, lighting, signage, even the de-icing infrastructure. And they did a lot of this even to relocate it off of Terminal A, because as we've said, is because Terminal A is going to be, at least on the northeast side, is where they're going to build a new pier. Now, as we've seen, it's 200 feet wide. It's one of the widest runways at DFW, short of, I forgot which runway this one is. This is probably 17L35R, because both of these handle the A380 traffic. Now, back in May of this year, they did actually reopen the front 3/4 of it. So from here, so probably right about up to here, which is I think right before Terminal E, if not halfway through it. But they reopened about 3/4 of that runway, and then they should have the rest of this open sometime at the end of this year. One of the reasons why they did this is because they redid that, like what they did with the other 2 arrival runways. They also put an asphalt layer on top because, I mean, concrete is a lot more expensive to replace than, let's say, asphalt. But now that you've got an asphalt overlay on top, all you really have to do is you can just close it for a couple days and then just repatch up the asphalt and then open it up during the day. So next up is the 19th Street Cargo Redevelopment Program. Now, for those of y'all that are probably like, what is this talking about? So this is the area that we're talking about, right on 19th Street. So this is right across the street from UPS's big hub at DFW Airport. And what this is pretty much going to try and do is they're going to add 2 more facilities here. Some specific facts, I mean, you could probably see this on here. Just with cargo, DFW Airport receives about $20.8 billion in economic impact every year. There's about 70 cargo operations every day. Last fiscal year, they saw just under 800,000 tons of cargo, and there are 36 major cargo hubs at DFW Airport. Now, more than 60% of that is domestic, but a good amount of that is international as well. So as I've said, what they're going to do is they're going to add 2 new warehouses with about 336,000 square feet of new warehouse spaces. They're also going to add 7 new parking positions, mainly to facilitate the new 747-8 freighter. Now, this project does plan to start sometime in summer of 2024. It hopefully should be done right around late 2025. Now, the next project, and this one's actually going to be a pretty big deal. It's not as big of a deal as, let's say, like the whole Central Terminal Area program, but this is like the next big thing, and that is the Southwest End Around Taxiway. So for those of y'all that don't know what an end-around taxiway is, let's go over to the eastern side of the airfield. An end-around taxiway, what that does is it starts right at the start of the runway, and then for each of the taxiways that sit in between, and it connects them all probably about like a few thousand feet to the north or south, depending on where you're at. Now this is the northeast end wraparound, and then this is the southeast wraparound. As you can tell, they're working on the southwest wraparound right now. But what this hopes to help alleviate, so the reason why these end-around taxiways are built is to alleviate traffic and keep aircraft moving in case they have to cross the runway. Because as I've said before, the outer runways here are the arrival run. So if you're going to be flying in, you either land on this one or this one. And if you're coming here, you normally will have to cross the runway. Normally have to cross this runway. So instead, they would probably extend this out a little bit more to connect it, but then you would just wrap around the taxiway and then go to your gate. Stuff like this has alleviated like taxiway times by as much as 5 minutes. It's a lot of time. As I've seen here, it has shown 4, and there have been 2. So 2008 was when the southeast wraparound opened up. So that's this one. And then back in 2022 was when the northeast wraparound came around. The reason why that was built was because the east side is where the majority of American Airlines flies out of. So it makes sense to just to build that out. Now the next project is the east to west connector roadway. So this roadway is basically an extension of, I believe it's Rental Car Drive westward. So this would extend this road to the west, bypass this water treatment plant, and then connect up to Harwood Boulevard Road. It would connect this up to 360. And basic plans on this it'd be new connections to and from the Rental Car Plaza, the Southgate Plaza, Passport Park, and existing and future area tenants. It sounds like there might be some new stuff coming around here to this southwest side in the future. Now, it's not really that surprising because, in the original plans, these runways were going to be like almost double the length. So that's why we've got so much land here that they can work. So next up, we're going to be taking a look at the Central Terminal Area Program. So this is a series of projects that you will most likely see as a regular flyer in and out of Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the reconfiguration of International Parkway. So in basic terms, what they're going to do is they're just going to redo a lot of the stuff that, a lot of the entrances and exit stuff for the airport. They're going to redo the stuff for A, B, and C because, again, those roadways haven't been touched in a good several years. They did that with they kind of reconfigured it when they built D, but A, B, and C are the 3 big terminals for American Airlines, and it's why they're doing this. So that is why this is a big deal. Now, the next one is going to be the Electric Central Utility Plant. So with the Electric Central Utility Plant, it's pretty simple. DFW is trying to go towards a net zero initiative like most every other company around here. Some of the big things for that is they're going to try and power this with 100% renewable resources. This should reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 16,000 metric tons of carbon emissions while also lowering water usage. And there's going to be a lot of stuff. And pretty much the simple thing with this new utility plant is it's going to help to make the airport a lot more efficient with water, so it's not using up so much of it. It's going to reduce greenhouse gas, and it's going to try and reduce its dependence on natural gas, which, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how to feel about that, because even though natural gas is good and it's actually probably a lot more efficient to heat water up with natural gas than electricity, it's something that it's something interesting. Now, I think the next thing we should talk about is the Terminal A Pier. So the Terminal A Pier, as I've probably said, is going to be a new extension of DFW Airport's Terminal A. Now, from there, that's going to bring another 4 gates up in this area. Now, if you take a look at, there it is. So it's going to be a 140,000 square foot expansion, adding 10 gates. Now, the thing is that they're going to tear out 5 gates, as you can see here. They'll probably tear out these 5 gates here, and then as they expand, we'll add another 5 gates. If you take a look at the map, it's going to come out right here, right underneath the Skylink station, and basically jet out in a little bit this way. And they'll probably redo some of the concrete taxiways around here for that. But in short, Terminal A is going to see another 5 gates added on, and it's going to use the modular construction that was used for some of Terminal C, where they're going to prefab it somewhere off on the airfield, but like not at Terminal A, and then they will slowly roll it over, and then they'll bolt it down and then connect it back up to Terminal A. Now the next thing is gonna be Terminal C, and oh boy, has this actually been something in the works for years. So back in the early 2000s, there was a program called the Terminal Renewal and Improvement Program. So this is known as TRIP. This would have basically renovated terminals A, B, C, and E, as those were the oldest buildings at the time. And at that point, I think they were almost like 35, 40 years old. Well, they halted the construction of Terminal C because American really needed the space to still expand while also working on Terminal A. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but terminals A and C are the smallest gates, or the smallest terminals at DFW. They both have about like 25 gates apiece. So with this one, even though they're only still going to add about 4 gates, it's still going to be a big deal for this airport. So the first thing they're doing is they're going to split this up into 3 phases. So phase 1 is going to be on the very south side of the terminal. So that's going to be, this is what I'm talking about. That's Terminal A. With Terminal C, what they did is these are the gates that they rebuilt off-site and then brought them in and fabricated them here. The upside for this is when they first did these 7 gates, they actually, like, not only were they like a couple months ahead of schedule, but they were also under budget, which is a very interesting thing. So phase 1 is going to take, I think, up to about this gate here. They're going to tear it out, and then they're going to not only rebuild these gates, but they're going to add a new extension for phase 1. And then phase 2 will be the northern side, and phase 3 will be the central side. Again, they're going to completely rebuild this. And the reason why they're going to do this is kind of like what they've done with those parts of Terminal C. It's going to be a lot bigger. It's going to be a lot more natural light. It's going to be really, really good for the airport. Now, the next big thing is Terminal F. This has been probably one of the most anticipated projects over the past 20 years. And the reason for that is, well, because they kind of needed this. So Terminal F is going to be a new 15-gate terminal. Now, unlike the other terminals where, as you can see, they're kind of semicircular, or they're like a semicircular shape, even if Terminal D looks like a square, it's still technically a semicircular terminal. Terminal F is going to be a pier-style gate. I don't remember if everything is going to be off-site, and they'll have you go to either E or D to check in, and then you just go directly in from Skylink to Terminal F. But there's not going to be the big circular things around here with the parking garages. Probably like what they were thinking when they were doing Terminal D. Like, as you can see, they rebuilt the hotel. They built a new hotel. They built like a really big parking garage in the middle. But with Terminal F, it's just going to be a 15-gate pier with space for 24. And this is going to cost them about $1.6 billion. It's supposed to start sometime this year. I would probably bet that when I go to Mexico in about a month from when this video was made, I will probably get to see the construction of this terminal from Terminal D. DFW is, as we can see, in the process of setting itself up for growth for the next few decades. With the eventual introduction of Southwest Airlines at DFW Airport in 2025, we could see DFW Airport grow over the next decades until it becomes overcrowded, facilitating the need to expand yet again. Now, for American Airlines, Terminal F specifically will be an American Airlines terminal. They are going to be looking to expand, especially with their Boeing 787s, as well as their new A321neos, as well as their A321XLRs that will have deliveries this year. It's supposed to be as a stepping stone for Americans' international routes to South America, as well as Asia and Europe. And with Frontier Airlines also introducing an astounding 16 routes through this past year, 2024, with now a new route to Vail starting towards the end of the year, It's becoming a huge location for other airlines outside of the US. And as DFW Airport does look to expand, I will definitely be posting you guys some updates as this happens. And with that, we're going to end the video here. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video over the capital investment program at DFW Airport. Right now, we're going to be going through a lot of the different airports that I've already talked about 5-6 years ago. And we're going to go over like what the plans are and what is in the works, or at least what they've done so far. It's going to be fun. If you guys liked what you guys just watched, please leave a like and subscribe down below. If you don't want to miss any of the new content that we have coming out, so either any new aviation content or any of our mountain bike content, as well as our automotive content, make sure you guys hit that bell icon as well so you get notified when the next video drops. Again, we'll have more aviation content as we take a look at other airports across the country, especially once we've gone through all of the airports that I've already talked about, but want to review again. We're going to be doing this basically every Friday. So if you guys are really interested in this aviation content, be a lookout for Fridays for these videos. Other than that, hope you guys have a great day and a great weekend. Peace out.